You're listening to the Whip Appeal Show, hosted by MistressCandy69 from the BDSM Alive Radio Network. Well, hello in Radioland today. You are listening live to the Whip Appeal Show, hosted by Mistress Candy. And actually, today is Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. So it's 2/23/23. What an interesting day it's going to be. So tonight's show, we actually have, from last week when I was talking about having Sean Elliot, a golden age porn star actor. Actually, I'm going to be interviewing him, and actually he is actually on the line with us right now listening to Mistress talk.
Yes, I am.
Well, how are you, Sean?
Well, first of all, I'm great. I feel great. And it's so nice to talk to you, Mistress. You know I love you. We met each other last year at, can't remember what Exotica. Do you recall?
Yes, it was Exotica that just passed, so it was Edison we met, actually.
Yeah. Edison we met, and then I had the enjoyment of having you sit on my lap for about an hour, and everything rose from there, so it was wonderful.
Yes. Actually, it was funny, because when I first met you, it was actually at Mikey Ramos's birthday party in that little lounge area at the Hilton, right in the cafe there. Yes.
Hilton Lounge, yes.
Yes. And what had happened was Sir Lorenzo had texted me and said, "Oh, you really need to come to this, birthday. We're having a thing for Mike." So I said, okay. So I went with my friend, of course. My friend that Evanstone dubbed PG-13, which was pretty funny. And so I went there, and then I remember I saw you there. I saw Mike and I saw Lorenzo, and then you had said to me, "How come you didn't follow me back on Twitter?" And I looked at you and I said, "Well, I really haven't been on Twitter all that much because I was preparing for Exotica," right? So, and that's how you and I started talking. And then,
well, you should be honored because my mom raised me in Ted Bucket. Kings, queens, and paupers all alike. You're the queen. And I said, "This bitch ain't following me. I'm coming back with a bullet. Come on, follow me."
So that was very funny.
Yeah, that was with PG-13.
Yes.
And that was fun. And Mike Ramos, I love him like a brother, and Lorenzo, I love him like a brother, so you couldn't beat. And that was another reason, Mistress, I think that we became friends too, because the people that you dig are the people that I do too, and they were really great. They welcomed me back, as you know. Mike put me on the cover of ASN magazine. I think
yes, I saw that. I actually have a copy of it downloaded to my computer.
Oh, great. Are the pages sitting?
Yes.
I'm not cocky, folks. It's how we roll. We're both Leos.
Yeah, exactly. Sean and I are both Leos. Actually, our birthdays are actually 3 days apart.
A day difference.
Yes, big. Well, not too much. How old are you now, Sean?
Yeah, that nobody will get. But let's put it this way: I quit counting at 40. But you introduced me, and thank you, as a golden age actor, which I was.
Yes.
And to be able to be blessed to come back in this industry and be welcomed and to perform so many years later, I must be doing something right or something wrong because it's working. So
well, that's good.
But I'm older. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I was back then. When Ron Jeremy was a clean as dad's eye, I was back there.
Actually, it's kind of funny. When Sean and I had a private conversation before, we were talking before we did the show, and I had said to him, and actually on my show last week, there was a lot of movies in my father's porn catalog, and a few of them were Ron Jeremy's also. So I found out about Ron Jeremy when I was about 12 or 13, snooping through my father's porn collection. And my brother and I decided to pop one of his movies in the VCR. And this was the first time I ever saw a guy suck his own penis. I swear to God. Okay.
You do that everywhere, the restaurants and how But it was. Let me share something with Ron Jeremy. So we
Right.
Joe, I haven't seen him in 40 years, so whatever he did, if he did this, and
Well,
it looks like he did, it's not good.
I have a story to share, but go ahead.
Okay, but let me give you this one. It's a full circle story. I think you'll like it. And
Okay.
It'll be brief. So, the very first movie I had done was, we could talk about a little later how I got into business and all that, but just the movie with Ron Sting in it. He was in it. He was the star of it. It was Lenny Kirkman was the director. It was called Co-Ed Teasers.
Oh, yes, I did read about that one. Yes, go ahead.
So that was shot in the Catskill Mountains. It was supposed to be 3, maybe 4 movies at once. And 4 films, actually. It was on film then. So a couple of the movies we had gotten done. Now, back in those days, and with this director, which you could also talk later, I had to do a lot of the actors had to do more than just, screw on screen and act. We had to change the film magazines. We had to run boom microphones. Anyway, short story is we're in the Catskills, and the day I'm not on set, I'm bringing magazines back to Midtown Manhattan.
Right.
Well, Howard Johnson's to some guy, I don't know, he knows something. I'm supposed to give him the stuff and then go back to the Catskills for shooting the next day or whatever I was going to do.
Right.
I get a call, or he gets a call, there's no cell phones, at his office there, and they're all in jail. Every one of them.
Oh, my God.
Yes, it was, and the actors, and the East Coast actors knew about this it was a big story. It was called the Catskill Bust. So what happened was, in one of the movies, they had rented, Lenny Kirkman, the director, rented a school bus, and there was a scene with she went by the name of Bambi. Bambi her name was Mary Hoffman.
Okay.
And she was a schoolgirl. She gets on the bus. Well, the neighbors and the people around the Catskills had seen stuff going on. There was cameras. There was a bunch of us in a motel. It was late at night. Everybody was stuck, and it was a blast. We were doing drugs. I mean, it was
Yeah, that's the life of a porn actor. Okay?
Life of a porn actor back there. I'm really surprised I'm here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. How's that?
What, honey?
I'm glad you're here.
Yes, happily so. So, the wind-up of this is, Jeremy was the one who called, and he said, don't give him the magazines until we get paid. I'd already given him the magazines. So, fortunately, it's not a big finish, but my thing is, when I found out he was in jail a few years ago, I said, this has all come full circle. I knew him when he was in jail in 1981. That happened in like 2018. So, nothing much changed for that guy.
Well, actually, you want to laugh? I have a personal Ron Jeremy story, okay? Now, I don't know if you may not know, but I've been doing the Exoticas for a number of years, okay? I actually used to do them back in the day. I used to be a dungeon dom. I used to do a lot of, shows for Exotica. If you go on my YouTube or if you Google Mistress Candy Exotica, there's a live video of me doing a mummification on stage for Exotica, okay? Then a few years before that, I did needle play demos and violet wand demos. So I've always been in the dungeon doing some sort of demo or something for Exotica for years and years and years. So one year, probably about, I want to say 2015 or 2016, you see Ron Jeremy walking around Exotica. And at the time, I was involved with Triple X Porn Store Radio, where I was doing a podcast for them, of course, BDSM oriented. Myself on a big porn network. Evan Stone was on there. Rita Daniels. What's that?
Love Evan.
Yeah, I love him to death. He's a sweetheart. Actually, I have some funny stories about him too. But I love him. He's a doll.
We're having coffee. Well,
so then. So Ron Jeremy, of course, is walking around the convention center. And this was around the time, a few months prior to the Me Too movement, if you remember all that stuff. So, Ron Jeremy is sitting at this, side, kind of just hanging out, And he goes, oh, mistress, come over here. So I know him. So I would go over to him, and he's like, come on, let's take a picture. So I said, okay, you know what? I've always come. I've never taken a picture with you, even though I talked to him, this and that. So I said, okay. I sit on his lap to take a picture. Not on his lap, but like to the side. You know, I'm way bigger than he is anyway. He's like a midget compared to me. So, you know, I'm tall. And I sit on him to take a picture, and out of nowhere, he takes his hand, and he slips his hand, like, up to my tits, and he grabs my tits. And at the time, I was dating this muscle-bound cross-dresser who obviously was extremely jealous if I even talked to a fucking woman. So when he saw that, he went after Ron Jeremy in the convention center. And at the time, our network was like, listen, you guys work in the industry, it's to be expected. He goes, yeah, but he fucking violated her. I said, look, whatever, I could care less. Honestly, I thought it was fucking hilarious, if you ask me. And I kind of looked at him and I said, really, dude? I'm like, I'm like, whatever. I'm like, it was a cop-a-feel thing. Few months later, he's in the news that he's molested all these people and touched people inappropriately. Did I ever say anything about it? No. Because honestly, you know why? It didn't offend me. To me, I know what kind of person he is. So, he's a perv. So it's like, what's that?
I don't want you getting people hating my guts in the future, because I know it's politically correct, but it's, and this is the thing, if you talk to adult from the before, or people that have been around it a little bit, know both eras, or not the golden age, the newer age, the 90s, the 2000s, I've talked to Christy Canyon a little bit about this and these situations with Ron, and it was different. I like the word expected, but let's say not surprised.
Right.
When you would go to the AVNs back in the day and stuff, everybody, I mean, it's people want to see it, and people are loose and they're having a good time, and they're sexually free, obviously.
I mean, I didn't care. The guy that I was with had a problem about it. And I even said to him afterwards, I'm like, listen, I don't care. I'm like, honestly, I think it was kind of funny that he groped me. Because at the time, my father was alive, and I told him, and he fucking burst out laughing. He goes, oh my God.
I was fine when you told me. But the thing is today, and you know it too, we've seen a lot of people at the convention, it's like, no, this is the rules, and so you got it, and that's it. And then in the outside world, because I don't know what his case was, right?
Right.
But you can't do it. I mean, it's like he lost all balance.
Right.
Excuse for that, and it's fucked up. But what he did for you, I mean, that's fine. You were sitting on my lap too.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I going to jail?
No, of course not. Of course not. So to me, like, that's the thing. Like, you work, like, all right, BDSM and dominatrixes are in the sex industry, okay? Some, guys come to us for release most of the time, whether it's mental or physical. So, in that aspect, I'm not having sex with submissives, but yet I'm wearing, fetish clothes, and most of the time the slaves in front of me are naked. So a true slave or submissive is naked. So that's like a submissive quality. That's the difference between BDSM and regular porn, where regular porn, both parties are naked because it's nudity. You're like, that's the difference. And nobody's submissive in that act.
That's right. I never really thought of it that way.
Right.
You teach me.
Well, listen, when we were at Exotica,
moving forward.
Yes, exactly. So it's funny because when we met at Exotica, like, Mike and Lorenzo were asking me if I would film a BDSM type porn with you, and I had told you I would do that. Remember?
I do remember.
Yes.
Yeah, and why haven't we done that?
Well, because Mike and Lorenzo were supposed to come up with some sort of plan to do, or because I think Mike had said he wanted to direct it. That's basically what it was.
As I recall too. Well, they'll be listening. So Mike and Lorenzo, get your act together. Put me and the mistress together, and if you get me beat up too much where I can't go back to the regular porn, I'm gonna have to kill you.
No, listen.
But yeah, anytime, darling.
Oh, that would be excellent. Because let me tell you, the reason why I suggested it is because, there is a lot of BDSM porn type stuff, but it's mostly, dames having sex with subs. This I would like to do, and this is my scenario for you, so think about this. I'm all dressed in my gear, of course.
Are you making a scene now? Are you making a scene?
Yeah, I'm making a scene. So, we're in some dungeon setting, and of course, you're kind of standing there like as your, self wearing your man clothes, and I tell you to strip. So once you strip, then I like kind of blindfold you, but I don't blindfold you 100%. So you can kind of see. So you don't know this, but I don't have panties on underneath my PVC dress. So the whole point of me is getting you to worship me without touching me. Doing some sensual domination.
Like a tantric type.
That's correct. Like, almost like a tantric type session. And then, maybe...
This is audio, not video. Eyes here.
Exactly right.
Rock my world.
Exactly right. Then we do something like where we bring in another female, like another female sub. So basically, I would order the two of you to do dirty things together while I like kind of torment the both of you.
Damn. Come on, Mike and Lorenzo. Yeah.
But that's kind of like a good thing. But
actually, I love it. I love what a great setup. And you're right. We don't do that. And I guess it's all much more niche now. But we didn't do that back in the day.
That's correct. Right.
That was and it's sad because it was actually looked. Well, I'll do this, but I won't do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Back then. But I that's a great scene. I love it. And let's put that. Let's make that a bucket list.
Exactly. That's on both of our bucket lists.
Are you gonna be in Chicago?
I don't know when it is. I mean, my work schedule's kind of hectic, so I don't know. I think I'm going to be coming back to Edison in November this year.
Now, listen, why don't we make a plan then? Because we're in Chicago, and I get that. I won't put you on the spot. But
okay.
I will commit right on air. I will be at Edison, and we will block for that.
Okay, awesome. That would be great, because, but now we got to find a young girl. So remember the girl that you did that, movie with, a recent one, that young girl?
Gloria Peaks.
Yes. I think, to me, the vibe I got from her when I met her, she's extremely submissive.
She is. She that vibe I get, too. She's strong, but, I mean, she likes that role. She liked that aspect, and she's a, what, I love her to death as a friend too.
Yeah.
That scene we did was, to me, it was as good as a lot of stuff that we had done, if not better. The direction was good, but her husband directs it. And she would be perfect for us. I think
honestly, I was kind of hoping we would get her because, like I said, I got a vibe from her. I know you worked with her recently, right? Like you did some stuff with her, and I figure, she knows the whole group of us, so yes. I think that would be ideal. Because then what I would do is I would direct you to dominate her. You would become my student almost. From me tantric teasing you and then getting you all hot and bothered and then sending you to go do things with her, but I direct the whole thing and spank the both of you while you're fucking around.
That you would have total control, and then I would, and I'm learning from the teacher. The student becomes the teacher.
That's correct.
And pass it along. We've got a series going on here.
That's correct. See, you like my train of thought.
Really? Yeah. That's good stuff. I like it. In fact, speaking of Vicky, we planned that Daddy situation, the thing that we did to continue that on as well, and that's one of the reasons I'm very comfortable coming back, Mistress, because back again, I hate to keep going back in the day, but back in the day, you went East Coast and you went the West Coast.
Right.
People on the West Coast, but I didn't go out there, and the group of people that we were friends with, or and fellow actors too, or fellow talent, were people we knew. So it was really easy to get into a scene. Let me tell you something about me, and it's again, it's not cocky, but it's the truth. I studied a method actor. I studied at Strasberg. I was a mainstream actor on some TV work. I got into this by chance. It was my intent, but I kind of got into it, and I am telling you, from my heart, is that for me to do work today, I have to become that character. So if you're directing, I'm treating you like a director. I'm becoming that submissive. I'm becoming that teacher to whoever the talent is. So it's real. I like that. I like the people, the ones that shoot just straight content. But let me ask you a question.
Sure.
There's a lot of things about. Seriously, let me ask you this. So there's a lot of things about, stepdad. You gotta say step legal stuff. So stepdad, stepdaughter,
right.
whatever. But after the first line, about half of these or more, it's like, well, you're my stepdad, and then they go into scene.
Right.
And then they look like lovers. They look like regular folks. I want to be the stepdad. I want the folks that watch this to be real dads. That they're a passionate way where they're saying, man, this is crazy. I love this. So I become the guy, that dirty old stepdad or whatever. You know what I mean? Because stepdad is not supposed to be screwing his stepdaughter.
No.
Fantasy.
Right.
And I want it to be real. I don't want to come off and all of a sudden that I'm just some regular dude that looks like could be her boyfriend.
Right.
That she just picked the wrong guy because he's an old fuck.
Well, what we should do with that is make you like a sugar daddy, like, wine and dine her for like a couple of weeks, and then do some like, minuscule teasing and making the girl all wet and having her beg daddy for, certain things. Like,
exactly.
So, you kind of want to do like stuff like that. It's almost like where the stepdaughter is the submissive to the stepfather.
So, she has to be.
Yes.
She doesn't know why she is, and she doesn't. She's this way. Why does she like her dad? Why does she love her dad so much, or her stepdad? And then he takes advantage of that totally. He's totally in control. He does it maybe in ways like, but he's not going to go wine and dine her, buy her flowers, and take her to a concert.
That's too mundane. You got to make it different. Right.
So
yeah,
we got that down.
Well, that's a good thing. So the two of them may get their shit together over there.
Come on, Zoe.
So, because Lorenzo and I have been talking about this, and he's like, so when you talk to Sean, I said, well, when I interview him, I'll talk to him about it on air. Actually, it would make for like good content for the show. So he laughed, and he goes, no, listen, it's never been done before. It's never been mixed like that. The two. So this could be like. Especially now, fetish and kink is exploding everywhere. The thing is, they've tried, like, I've seen, like, like Nina Hartley, like, she would do some BDSM stuff, but not to the extent as I want to do it. Like, it's different. Like, she would do, like, she's a porn actress, so she would do more of the porn stuff and maybe do a little kinky stuff in the mix. But
more sheltered, more soft.
Exactly, very soft.
World because you know the world.
Right.
So do it right.
Right.
Am I reading you right?
Exactly, correct, yes. So, and even Lorenzo said that. He goes, think about it. Nobody's really done that. He goes, this could be a big breakthrough for you and Sean. He goes, it's a good thing. He goes, and for us too. So it was, and I remember Mike Ramos said at Exotica, he goes, if you guys are going to do it, I'm directing the movie. Like, I'm going to take it like so. Like,
you got to remember, though, he directs this. Michael, again, you'll be listening. And then I got to hear it when we're having a pastrami sandwich at the deli. He'll make this up a year later. Yeah, remember the time he couldn't get it up for 10 minutes. Oh, shit, man, I don't know if I want to do this. That's easy, but,
Yeah, we're going to Harold's.
Did you know that I took with what's his name? With Michael, and do you know that it was a baby dog, Ash, the guy that
yeah, Bad Pup Ash. Yeah.
Good dude. So,
I've known him a while. Yeah.
We drove. When we were at Edison, Michael asked. He said, "Yeah, man, let's do it." Because I lived in Queens when I was shooting in New York. We went to was it Brooklyn? I think, at where he's from. Sorry, Michael, it could be the Bronx, but I think it was.
Oh Brooklyn. Yes, he went to his like childhood house or something.
We went to his house.
Right.
And there's nothing so nice as to see a guy in the porn industry, hardcore, crying in front of his childhood home.
Aww.
It was great.
Yeah, he said it looked totally different, and the memories that came out of it was like he was, Yeah.
He's my boy. But anyway, so you and I got plans. I'll come here every week. You're still on my dance card.
Oh, really? Okay, that works. I'm like, that works. So here's a question. How did you get into working in the porn industry? Now that we're kind of talking a lot about, you as an actor, and how did you get into it, and how old were you?
Well, it'd be nice to be well known where I could turn around and say, Mistress, I've been asked that question a million times, but because I'm just coming back out, I'm so grateful that you asked that question, so I can tell people.
Okay, good.
So, I was working, I mentioned Strasbourg, so I was in college studying whatever, and I told my parents, I said, I'm going to leave this and be an actor, and that basically disowned me that day, and said, no.
Oh, yeah, that's what your parents want to hear.
Upstate New York, they want a lawyer or a doctor or something, and I say, no, I'm going to show business. So I went to New York, and I went to classes at the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute, and some talent agency, Colleen Shannon Talent, to soap opera acting. And one day, I decided to join the New York Show Business League, which was a softball league. People in my general will remember this. It was really big. On Tuesday and Thursday, they play softball in Central Park. I mean, how cool is that?
Oh, that is cool.
Isn't it? So we would play against, like, David Letterman at the late night show. We played Saturday Night Live. I remember, what's his name? He was always hitting on the girls. Al Franken. We played at SNL.
Right.
So we would go there, and one day we're playing in our league, and I'm playing for Strasbourg, which is kind of ironic. Lee Strasberg Theater Institute softball players is like a bunch of guys that can't do nothing. I could, but most of them couldn't. But anyway, somebody came down and said, we're shooting a movie with, he just passed away, the late James Caan.
Okay.
Called Chapter 2. It's about Neil Simon's movie, and it's about his real life. The playwright Neil Simon, starring James Caan, Marsh Mason.
Right.
So they talked to some of us on the team. We could play ball. And I got cast. I wasn't AFTRA or SAG or anything at the time, but I got cast. Dad gave me the balls one day after a game in my uniform to walk over to an agency on West 57th. Her name will come to me later, but I go up there, and they said, you don't have an appointment. I said, no, but I'm a struggling actor, and I want a gig. She called me in her office, and she said, where can you be 3:30 on Friday? And I went to Brooklyn, to Avenue M, NBC Studios, and I was an extra on the soap opera Another World.
Oh, I think I read that about you, actually.
Remember that?
Yeah.
From that, I worked on Another World. That was 1979, 1980. And I worked on that soap opera for almost 3 years. Usually once a week, sometimes twice a week. Steady paycheck. Became a bartender known as Mark. I worked at the Top of the World with any Another World fans. With Blaine and Jason ran it. And then I was getting little gigs. I did a movie called Gloria. Different things. Prince of the City.
Right.
Anyway, to answer your question, because you only have so much tape left.
No, we got plenty of time. Go ahead.
I'm a Leo.
I know. You and I are both Leos, so we like it.
Can we make a deal? I'll tell you what. When we go off tangent, just yell out squirrel.
Squirrel. Okay.
Squirrel. That's a safe word.
Squirrel. Okay, gotcha.
So, anyway, so squirrel. So I go to one day. I'm looking at the pickup magazines like Backstage and such, in the Village Voice, and one day in the Village Voice, there was a thing, nudity, actors wanted some nudity required.
Oh.
So I go to the thing. This is a pretty cool story. So it's down in the Village, and I'm sitting in some room, maybe seats 40, 50 people, little tin chairs, and one girl is walking around, a little Zoftic, a little bigger, but beautiful, long hair, real pretty, and a bunch of us guys. And then some man would come out and say, next, and then go into another room. Figure it's an audition. So this girl sits down next to me. I had noticed, everybody she sat next to, she would sit down, talk with somebody for a minute, and 10 minutes later, that person would be going in for the interview. Or so I thought. She sits down next to me, and she says, do you like pleasure? And I said, well, I'm like, yeah, I like pleasure. Sure. And we talked for a minute, bullshit, and we leave. she was born, lying on a dirty old mattress. With who I found out later was Lenny Kurtman, a director, and Zebedee, Z-E-B-E-D-Y, Zebedee Colt. Him you want to Google.
Okay.
That was an actor on Broadway. He was an actor. He was old by that time, maybe the 60s. Excuse me. And he says, fuck this girl. Can I say that?
Yeah, there's no filter, trust me. But they said, fuck this girl.
He didn't say it like today, like glunk, glunk, or blow. He just said, fuck this girl. Yeah, that's another story. We don't have enough hours for the story, so
I'll have you one again, believe me.
Please, I'm booking that deal too. We got a lot of commitment, honey. So I go in the room, and little Sean did a good job, and they said, okay, we're shooting a movie in the Catskill. They took all my information, and that's how I got hired into the business. And the first movies I did were for him. When that crazy scene ended of the bus and all that, I swore I'm never working for this guy again. I think it was Cecil Howard, or it was Bobby Clark, I think, or Debbie Does Dallas too. And who didn't hear of Debbie Does Dallas?
Oh, God. It's a fucking, American classic.
Yeah, so I'm going, dude, if you play your cards right, you'll be big in this business, probably. I wasn't thinking that, but I thought it later. So I said, yeah, sure. And I was just, green behind the ears. And I went, and I worked with Lisa B., Ron Jeremy again.
Right.
Ronnie was my dad, he was my sheriff, he was my father-in-law, he worked with me in Scoundrels, he was my girlfriend's dad. This guy was always around me.
Oh, that's right, he was in Scoundrels with you, yes?
Yes, I did 3 or 4 movies with him, and that's like half the movies I did. So, I got another funny Ron Jeremy story about it. We did enough time with him, so that's for the next show.
Okay.
So I went and did Debbie Does Dallas. And then, if you look at my resume, I think it was 82 by then, or late 81. And then in 82, 83, I kept doing movies. Every month, I was working Another World, too.
Yes.
On the thing. And I got my SAG through the movie, and I got my AFTRA, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. So my whole goal was to be a mainstream actor at that time. Yeah. And so I made a conscious decision, Mistress, to be a good actor, practice my craft, get laid at the same time.
Why not, right? That's a fucking bonus nowadays.
What, babe?
They said that's a bonus nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely the bonus now that I'm 100. But so I said, and maybe this will go in. And, it's kind of, that, it's hard to transition back then. But there was a few that were getting work out. I recall Arbola, if you remember him. I can't think of his real name right off the top of my head, but he ended up doing a lot of spaghetti westerns, and he made a decent career acting. This was before, obviously, what's her name, who got caught at 17, and then she became, John Waters' girl. I'm spacing on names.
Oh, yeah, I can't think of her name. I know you're talking about, though, yeah.
Yeah, but, anyway, so then I did that, and right away I ended up doing movies like Luscious, Debbie Does Dallas, I did Scoundrels, which was Best Picture of 82. We won Best Film, I won Best Scene. It was a slow motion scene. It was shot by Fred Lincoln, and the director was Cecil Howard. So I worked with people in there. I worked with for Chuck Vincent. I worked for Cecil Howard. I worked for, and you had mentioned Samantha Fox.
Yeah, she was in Luscious with you, right?
Pardon me?
She was in Luscious with you, correct?
And Luscious, which we shot in Puerto Rico at Cadata Beach. And that was a hell of a scene. We had to be on the beach having sex after running at least. To me, it felt like a mile. It was probably a quarter of a mile. The sun up, because there's real boogie night shit. If anybody asks me today, what was it like then? I go, watch the movie Boogie Nights. It was like that with murder and mayhem.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds' character was every director in the East Coast.
Yeah.
And we had to shoot that scene for the sun to come up behind our backs, and I was exhausted. So I'll give a hint away. Sometimes you don't always work. And so I did the best I could, but for pickups, vocals, I ended up redoing the sex scene. We actually made a beach at Adventure Studios in Queens, Benedetti's studio, and finished the scene there.
Wow.
So, yeah, back then there were a lot of fluffs. There was a lot of retakes. I mean, it wasn't like, and this is for anybody, I'm master of the obvious, but you know this, of course, but it wasn't just straight through scenes. So that transitions to the people today, because a lot of them will shoot off the phone or whatever.
Right.
Oh, Tadpole becoming a friend of mine and his productions. I mean, you're doing an orgy scene, and it's a continuous shot. So that's very difficult.
Yeah, it is.
So I admire that today.
You gotta make sure you know, like as you said, some days don't work. Yeah, well, that's a question I had. Like being a porn actor, it's not always like you can't like fuck on command, right?
You have to. Well, let me just qualify that. You do have to fuck on command. You're short for the business,
right?
But
right.
if you, I like to think with me, they saw talent. And I'm saying this. I knew my lines. I wasn't late. The reason I weighed 80 pounds because it was a cocaine era, but I was recently not ugly, and I had a decent dick. So now what are you going to do with it? So I only failed on that set. Usually everything, all the time, everything worked for me. But you gotta have it. I think what you might be asking me, Mistress, is that can you succeed in that business? You have a very good friend. I'm going to off this if you might not allow me to say it, although he says it, that had his first 15 movies, and he's a superstar. I mean, he's A. Right. Like the John Leslie A, to me anyway. He couldn't get it up 90% of the time in his first dozen movies.
Wow.
It was M200. But he was a good actor, and eventually it came around. I think it's all about like anything else when you're comfortable with it. You may direct me in a scene that I'm not comfortable with, but if you have time to get comfortable with it, and these directors nurtured that, and the girls were fantastic.
Yeah,
they would love you. There was Lisa DeLayu. You've heard of her before?
Yeah, I've heard of her. Yep.
Luscious. I know you have. I'm fucking dumb.
Listen, you're forgetting. I told you that one of the first things I told Sean Elliot is all the movies that he was in were in my father's porn collection. So I remember seeing them at a young age, so it's kind of funny,
So now I can read you. So you and I were both in your dad's drawers.
Exactly. That's hilarious.
So, there you go. So which fits right into so you and I could do a scene like we do with Victoria Peaks.
That's hilarious.
Your drawers, and you pull out Luscious or something.
Yeah, you pull exactly. That's correct.
But yeah, so Lisa DeLayu, voluptuous redhead, and we became what the regular folks say. We became fuck buddies.
Right.
Married for a brief period of time. I was divorced at the time, obviously.
Yeah.
And we became friends, so we used to work on scenes all the time. But if you look at, here's a little tip for anybody who wants to look at an old movie. We did a movie called Mascara. And if you look at that scene that we're in on a couch, by the way, for anybody interested, because I'm finding out that people really respect the industry, the directors and the talent. So this was a Ron Sullivan, Henri Picard feature. And in that scene, you see me mouth something to her. It's like a ooh-ah thing, but I'm saying, I gotta come. That's what I said. I gotta come.
Oh,
I couldn't hold it back. And they got the shot, and it worked.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so Mascara, what year did you do that movie?
Mascara?
Yeah.
My career was window short. I came in at 81, left on my own accord after the movie Firestorm in 84, so about 3.5 years. To answer your question, I'm guessing in the middle, maybe 8, because I was already established.
I think it was 82, 83, if I'm not mistaken.
The last movie I did was Firestorm with Kate Parker. What a way to go out. And Eric Edwards was in it, and Joanna Storm, and John Leslie, who him and I rode a taxi cab back, and how I left the business, he had said in the taxi, he said, Sean, you're going to be a star in this business if you want it. And when I got on the taxi in Midtown and I went back to Queens on the E train or the F train, I said, if I do this, I'm going to lose any chance I have of mainstream. What a dumb fucking idiot I was. You hear that, folks? If you're good at one thing, stay with it. That's Sean Elliot's message.
Yeah, don't think you can't do something. If you put your mind to it, you could do anything you want to. Basically, just don't give up. Is a good way to put it.
Well, you've crossed generations. As beautiful as you are, you know that back then, for a man, well, for a woman, maybe even more, there was a lot of guilt going on. A lot of us felt. You know, it was what we called the raincoat crowd. Used to see when I first started. It was not even on VCRs, I guess they were called.
Yeah, VCRs. Yep.
Yeah, they were on film, and you had to go to the movie house.
Yeah, you couldn't like the adult theater, right? Correct.
Yeah, that was fine. But when I went to visit my parents in Western New York, Buffalo area, and my dad's secretary said, "Where have I seen you before?" You know, I go, soap operas, and then she said, did you ever do porn?
Oh, God.
And then Firestorm happened, and I says, nah, I got to get out of here, because I'm starting to get known.
Right.
Because you should have squirreled me. By that time,
Squirrel.
We were on VHSs.
VHS. I think now some of your movies can be, I think, bought online, or they can, like, buy DVDs of them now.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we were on a video. Sometime we'll do a video. I brought some presents out because I wasn't sure if we were doing video or audio, and I've got some of the DVDs. And if you can't find it on DVD, go to your nearest cave. Somebody painted it on a wall. It's there too.
That's hilarious. You're hilarious.
You know what? But you know what, honey? The thing is, Mistress.
Yes.
My friend, my dear friend.
You know I love you to death. You're hilarious.
I am back. I am back and bigger than... I got porn stars from back in the day, got last time they're wheelchairing up and saying, how the fuck are you doing this?
Right.
And I go, I take about 12 pills. That's how I'm fucking doing it. Take a pill. Do it.
Listen, now they have mixed Cialis and Viagra, which I'm sure is a big help in the industry nowadays, as opposed to putting on the old cock ring and kind of, just making yourself a little swollen just to perform well, you know.
The only jewelry I want is from Tiffany's. I ain't put no rings on, no watches. It's a pill.
Well, Tiffany should make sterling silver cock rings for men.
Oh, yeah?
No, I'm just saying they should.
Oh, yeah, they should. Yeah, they should. Now somebody will think of this and they'll change the name Tiffany to like Taffany's, and they'll be selling millions.
I know, right? Taffany.
Right? You and I ought to do this.
I know. You and I should come out with like a cock ring company or some sort of male enhancement.
Oh, is that the place in New York? Yeah, that's it. There you go. Cock ring, $400, $40.
Oh, my God.
Funny, our friend Lorenzo says, what are you taking? So, Lorenzo, I'm busting you out, and I told him what the prescription is. So anybody wants to know what works for me, I take a Cialis the day before, and then 3 hours before the shoot, I take 100 milligram Viagra. And I can work without it, but we're shooting content. I got all these youngins around me. And,
you need to have a chronic heart on. I get it.
Well, you can drop a towel and it don't hit the floor, babe, so.
I could use it as a coat rack. Actually, the next time I see you, if you take Cialis, I'm going to hang my whips from your penis. How's that?
That's right. We'll call my dick Zorro and right away.
I'll have you and a couple of others standing there with my floggers dangling from between your legs.
Oh, my God, I love it. But I'm getting wood here in your voice. I got nothing in me except, I think, a little Bailey's.
Oh, my goodness. And maybe some Novocaine.
So, people, I was at the dentist before this, and when we spoke before the show, and Mistress called me up, I said, how are you doing? Are you all right? And she's, what the fuck's wrong with you? I said, I was at the dentist. And they had to pull the splinters out of my teeth because I was screwing with Martha Washington. I have no idea what I'm saying. Just go squirrel.
Oh, you had a wooden teeth over there?
Yeah, I reversed it. You know, it's like, why did George Washington, he had wooden teeth? but she didn't know that Martha Washington had splinters in her cunt.
That's hilarious. She's like a porcupine.
Yeah.
A porcupine.
Went over to Betsy Ross.
PP.
Fag. I just fucked the fag. Can I say that on the air?
It's MWPP. Martha Washington porcupine pussy.
Absolutely. These people are nuts.
What
else do you want to ask?
So you're back in. So do you want to talk about what you did with Victoria Peaks for the daddy thing? Like, is that available for people to watch?
Yes, it is. It's on Victoria. Actually, let me, while we're talking, because I know that time doesn't work too well, but let me go to Vicky's. I want to make sure that I've got her site. But if it's Victoria Peaks on Twitter, you'll find it there. PEAKS.
Right.
And she has put this out on OnlyFans, I believe.
Right.
Loyal fans, possibly.
Yeah.
But I'm not positive, and this is where I am showing my ignorance in this generation. She put it on all her platforms. It's a 17-minute long video. She wanted to do a old-timey type of scene where we actually had a little dialogue, but it's a really, I'll give you the little baseline of this.
Sure.
So Victoria is in her bed, and she's doing a fantastic masturbation. And I don't know if you know this, but Victoria's a fantastic squirter.
I've heard I heard she's a squirter. Like, she's like a super soaker.
She's a super stoker. I mean, it's delicious. I'm telling you. So, what was I saying? So, she is lying on the bed. Again, I don't want dead time, but I hear stuff barking up here. And if I'm going into stories like this, I want to make sure there's no grandkid around saying, "Hey, Pops, what's up?" So, I'm on the air, and all of a sudden you might hear, "Hey, Papa." Well, let's talk about it.
Listen, we all have personal lives besides
we all have personal lives.
Too.
You can't separate it. So, anyway, now it's just Oliver and Lucy, my babies. So, anyway, she's on bed, and she's masturbating, and she's saying, "Daddy, Daddy," the usual start of this. And then the way her husband directed it, can't think of his directing name. I know his name is Izzy. That's as much as I'll give. Right. And he shot with he set up 3 cameras, which was really cool. Front and then side to side.
Right.
And then he fades out, and then I come in, and then we start, and it happens like 3 or 4 different times. So it's 3 or 4 different times of sex. The first sex scene is like 69, and I work her do a major squirt. It's all over my face. It's really good. I thought the scene was excellent, and like I said, she's delicious, and I'm not joking. She's adorable. I love her.
Yeah, she's
cute.
I met her at night at the Mikey's party or whatever.
Yeah, and you'll see her again. Well, she can be in our movie. So, so she squirted. She squirted, I think, about 6 or 7 times. We did a lot of fucking, a lot of sucking, a good money shot on her face, and then we went out to eat. It's beautiful. Victoria Peaks and Sean Elliot.
Wine, dine, and 69 comes to a new meaning in a new era.
That's right.
Right.
And I have to thank her for, I had worked with my dear friend, Coral and Jewel.
Yeah.
We had done some shorter amount of content. I had worked with Mickey Lynn.
Yeah, Mickey Lynn's a sweetheart.
Who I will work again, but that's not finished. To tell you the truth, it was more like fun.
Right.
And, so we're going to plan on working together, and I'm trying to. I think she knows this. We've talked about it. Work with, it's news to her now, Anastasia Rose.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that, what is it? Somebody Love. She's adorable blonde.
Oh, Rebecca Love? Is that who it is?
Who?
Rebecca Love?
Yeah, Rebecca. We met at one of, like afterwards, getting something to eat.
Is it Rebecca Love?
Pardon me? Is
it Rebecca Love?
Yeah, blonde hair, real pretty.
I think that's her.
Yeah, this is Rebecca Love, and she is an admirer of the golden age. So she wants to put together. Actually, I better stop there because now that I'm thinking of the squirrel, she might not want all this stuff out. No idea. So let's just say we're working on that. Anastasia Rose, we're planning on Tadpole Productions.
Right.
We're planning on working with that. Rebel Rider and I are going to work together. But again, and as you know, in our industry, when we meet, because I live the other life, and that's the thing of creating Sean Elliott with my other life and responsibilities, I can't be as free to move about the country as I'd like.
Right, I got you. Yep.
You said we meet up at the, and you have issues like that sometimes too.
Yeah, with work and scheduling and private life. Yeah, I totally get it. Like, look, I'll be out somewhere, and when I'm in my mistress clothes, I look the same as I do in my regular. Like, I look exactly the same, just have different clothes on. I was out somewhere recently, and somebody goes, "Oh, aren't you Mistress Candy?" And I said, "Yes." I'm like, "Have I met you before?" They're like, "Oh no, I saw you at a convention." So like, but apparently,
I went to the dental office the other day, and you were working on my mouth.
Exactly. Well, that's kind of like what happened actually, which is hilarious. So that's yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah, like it's kind of funny. So I totally get it,
Let me ask you. So I am getting, and just so anybody knows, especially closer people, my wife does know what I do. To a point, she knows I go out. She knows I'm in a convention. She knows I'll do scenes, but I don't talk about it because this is not her world.
Right.
And that's
she's like a vanilla person, like in BDSM,
a vanilla person,
right? Like a vanilla, somebody who's not into kink, who's the dark side is people refer to it as chocolate, or I like to say I practice the dark arts. So, I mean...
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, we've had some tragedies in our lives in recent years, and it's changed a lot. I would love her to get out of it. Her and her husband and son and me and my wife.
Yeah.
They're her family. So, I mean, but as far as she goes, are you going to be Sean this month? When are you going to Exotica? Patrick Palmer has his Zoom meetings with Jizz Talking, a wonderful show. I'm glad he has a show that interviews people from then and now. And she goes, it's Sunday, don't forget, you got Patrick tonight. So it's pretty cool how that is. But my squirrel, I lost tangent a little bit. But so I was going to ask you, so when people see you now, because it will happen to me more, I'm sure, because nobody watches porn. BDSM, the real world, nobody. They all do.
Of course they do. Listen, in the lifestyle that I've been living for the past 33 years, it has come to my attention that, no matter where I go, I run into people either in my dental office, at conventions, at concerts. I mean, because I used to go to concerts dressed in my mistress clothes and promote my show and interview musicians. So I would do things of that nature, like out in public, walking slaves and submissives on leash in public, like causing all kinds of attention. So I have an extensive background, so people, like, when they come and see me, they're like, oh, I know you from such and such. And believe it or not, I'm on FetLife, and a lot of kinky people are patients in my fucking dental office. And they're like, oh, I'm on FetLife. I said, me too. They're like, I think we're friends. I said, what's your name? And they tell me, and I'm like, holy shit. But I don't see their face. They only post pictures of their asshole on FetLife. I don't see, like, pictures of their asshole. Like,
your face. Unless I ask you for that piece of your body.
Exactly, like, but it's just funny, like, I'm like, oh yeah, you're the guy with, like, the wears the purple pants, like, something like that, panties, like, so, like, okay,
you're telling me, though, that it's cool with you, and that's it, where, to me, I still feel a protective aura, but it seems to be lightening up each time, like, 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't do an interview, and I've got a few now, because... you get to a point in life where you just say, and I gotta thank Coral and Jewel a lot for that. Just be you. And
she's
if they can't handle it, fuck them.
Well, that's exactly my mentality, too. Like, look, I've been, like I said, in the field for a long time. So, I get people asking me questions like, how do I do this? So sometimes, on some of the shows I talk about, like, stuff like that. But, then, like, people ask me, like, does your family know about stuff you do? Absolutely. I'm going to tell you. My mother knows about it. My father, when he was alive, God rest his soul, my father was the biggest fan of my radio show. He thought it was fucking hilarious. He goes, because, like, kind of funny when I first became a dominatrix. He kind of laughed about it because he's like, well, you're a Leo, so of course you are, like that type of mentality. And he goes, and you're strong-willed, and you kind of like, he goes, but and then when I started doing the exoticas and was getting, mixed into AVN. Like, I was at AVN a few times. I did some shows at AVN, on the stage for BDSM type stuff, and exotica. I would go back and, tell my dad. So at one time, when I was on Triple X Porn Star Radio with Rita Daniels and Evan Stone, actually Ginger Lynn was on there also. You know Ginger Lynn.
Oh, Ginger. I met her a couple shows ago and we become friends.
Oh, she's a sweetheart. And she's
a fan.
Yeah, and she paints too, right? I think she's a painter.
She makes things. I don't know about painting, but she paints on. She had little tchotchkes at the thing she was actually selling. She was giving away to fellow actors some necklaces that she made. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And bracelets. So yeah. So she was on your show too.
Yeah. Well, she was on the network with us. Yeah. So it was Rita Daniels who had her show, The Cougar Zone, which actually in a couple of months when she's feeling better, she's actually going to be doing a show on the network called In the Cougar Zone. And actually, it's kind of interesting because I myself am a cougar. So her and I have decided that when she comes on, I would be the first guest on her show.
Fantastic. I'll be sure to tune in.
Because, I'm almost 48 and I have a 27-year-old boyfriend.
Yes, you do.
So, so in that retrospect, when Rita and I were talking, she goes, when I come on, she goes, you are going to be my first guest mistress because you are, in fact, a cougar. Like, we like talk about it. So it's like, funny. And of course, like my guy, he totally, like when I first met him, I told him, like, because he's like, well, how do I know you're real? And I said, well, I'm a dominatrix, so I'm going to send you to my website so you can see that, in fact, that I am a real person, the same person that is on my, dating profile. So, at first I wasn't sure how he was going to take it. And then, then he went to it. And then while we were talking, he's like, nice. And then, like, he was reading some stuff, and he's like, wow. He goes, I've heard about this stuff. He goes, I'm not into it. He goes, I don't want to do anything like that with you, but I'm totally cool with it. Now, it's kind of funny because actually we've been together like 5 going on 6 months now, and a few months ago he had told me he wanted to dominate me. So I let him. And, soft. But I let them do it for
Nobody knows what they want until they're exposed to it.
Right. So,
and the first thing a person will say, generally, if they don't know about it, is no. That's just a defensive mechanism, right?
Right.
So
but
now he's been with you, he's comfortable, and then all of a sudden,
so now he likes it, and so I said, well, just because I let you dominate me, now I'm going to dominate you, and what I do is different from what you did. And he goes, yeah, I know that. I said, be careful what you wish for, young Padawan. Like it was like kind of funny, but no, he actually will be coming with me to Exotica this year. And you'll get to meet him. And he's ecstatic just to walk around the convention. He's never been to anything like this. And he said that he is ecstatic to walk around the convention with me dressed in my clothes. He said it's going to be extremely hot. He goes, I've never had a woman that would walk around and stuff like that. So I said, well, listen.
I tell him he has to wear a hazmat suit when he walks around in there?
No, I didn't tell him that.
Not tell him before anybody starts saying it. It's a lot of the people that go there.
I know, right?
Clean as a whistle. But just be careful from old George over there who's whacking off behind Miss Love's booth.
Oh, yeah, I know. Listen, a lot. Some of the guys do that. Unfortunately, like we're in the industry, the sex industry, so of course, that's to be expected. And like I said, I used to do pro dom sessions where I had guys that just wanted to objectify me while I was wearing clothes, like fetish clothes, and they'd be kneeling in front of me, jerking off, and they'd come on my boots, lick it all off, and then I'd make them shine my shoes afterwards. So they would have to do a very extensive, thorough, clean job of my boots, and every drop of semen was to be licked off my boots. So
you wouldn't be doing your job properly for them if you didn't do it that tough. That's what it's about, as I'm learning.
It's about discipline, right?
You missed a drop, so
Right.
Whatever.
So, and if you miss a drop, I take your face and I like bring you back down to where it was and I watch you lick it all off. And that is even more humiliating because you're being like forced to do something with, a little bit of forceness to it. You know what I mean? So,
you said like this because I have seen you in your outfits and after we met, and folks, the girl is, stunning, hot, goes through every mind fuck I have, and I'm going, wow. And one of the reasons I agreed to be on her show is because I want to learn about this even more. It's not, to me, it'd be like a dessert, but like I just said a minute ago, you never know where you go with it.
Right.
I could be in fucking Czechoslovakia getting five-fisted by a bunch of big Russians. I don't know.
Listen, I'm not going to be doing any type of fisting because that takes like a lot of anal training. That's like, like I always tell these.
My anal right now, unless I got Metamucil, it ain't happening.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, I didn't make sorry. Handed it on a silver platter, mistress. I gotta take it.
Well, listen, but see, this is the thing. As a submissive and a slave, okay, there's a big difference between the both of them, so I'll teach you this really quickly.
Yes.
A submissive,
I'm losing you.
Okay, and any type of, are you there?
Where do you go?
I'm here. I'm here, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
We can continue.
And any type of BDSM type of relationship, whether it's S&M, which is sadism and masochism, or it's a DS, dominance and submission, and it's also MS, which is master-slave. Okay, so there's a bunch of different dynamics, right? There's other things too, but the main focus is whenever you're entering into any type of BDSM type scene or relationship, it's all based on trust. You have to maintain these two practices, which is SSC, which is safe, sane, and consensual. And then there's RAC, which is risk-aware consensual kink. So basically what you're doing is the two of you, like whether it's you and I, we're going to sit down and have like a powwow chat and say, okay, these are what we're going to do. This is what we're not going to do. The two parties are consenting to this type of behavior. Well, one is the dominant and the other one is the submissive. So basically, you, as the submissive, have rights and rules, right? So the mistress or master or dominant places a set of rules upon a so-called submissive. Now, a slave... Now, and the submissive has the right to kind of negotiate what type of play is going to take place and, their pain tolerance level, per se, if that's the scene, like if they're doing like impact play. They both agree to a specific amount of whatever, and you do it. Now, when you're an actual...
does not have that right, is that correct?
That's correct. A slave does not have that right. Once a person enters into full submission or what's called domestic slavery or domestic servitude, they actually don't have any rights anymore. That slave gives up all of its rights and thinking and everything over to the dominant mistress or master, and that mistress, master, or dominant controls them mentally, physically, and everything else. Like, you even have to ask to go to the bathroom, basically. So, even with the submissive, the same thing, but it's less strict is a good way to put it.
In a funny way, and I'm deadly serious in this. The first thing that's coming to my mind is the Janis Joplin singing, "Freedom's just another word, nothing left to lose." It very difficult to get there, but I imagine that it's cathartic and euphoria to people that can just give up every control.
That's correct.
That they have. It is so, especially men, it is so unnatural to us.
Well, but think about it. Most men, and this is the truth to the... Most men that see a dominatrix is usually for some sort of release, because in their regular life, their regular vanilla life, they are usually guys or men with high jobs. Like they're either a doctor, a lawyer, a cop, or they're like a big CEO of a company, and they're always in control of everyone else. So when they come to see me, it's usually for them to get some sort of mental or physical or both, types of release, to where they give up control to somebody else, because they're naturally submissive, but they don't get a chance to do it all that often because they're a high, employment type
I up
person.
there in the professional, whatever. It doesn't have to be professional, but again, they have to be in power a lot in their regular life.
Right.
Maybe thank God I can give it up and be told what to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And somebody's got to be there to tell them, and it's Mistress Candy.
Yeah, somebody's got to be there to direct them to make sure they stay on their path. Like,
it's just as safe, obviously. I mean, do you go over rules with a slave before it happens?
Yes.
You're going to be my slave, and you're going to call me mistress? Or
no. I actually have rules and protocols. So basically, I actually do currently own a slave who's actually 75 years old, and I've owned him for the past 15 years. And honestly, out of all the slaves and submissives I've ever owned, he is the one that I could tell you that is the most truest slave I have ever seen in my life. From the first moment that I met him, he was on his hands and knees and not even looking me in the eye, because that's what a real slave knows and understands their place. And I had told him, I said, I'm going to adhere to a strict, Gorian slavery with high protocol. And he goes, I understand, mistress. I had a prior mistress who trained me in Gorian slavery, so I understand it completely. So this fella, still to the day, will text me, Mistress, may I call you? And if I don't answer him, he doesn't call me. So basically, he knows his place. He knows how to address me. We have gone to AVN. He's taken me to Vegas, everywhere, a lot of different places. I haven't seen him as of recent because his wife is very sick. But he still to the day will always text me, message me wherever. How are you, mistress? How are you doing? Always asking how I am. And will not call me unless I instruct him to.
Being a dom to be is the way you are with your history, that's a lot of responsibility on your end too, because I could see somebody that doesn't, again, I'm a novice at this part of adult work. I mean,
right.
More is sport, but this is different. There's so many different things now, and even more and more. I'm wondering if the responsibility that you have, because in the wrong hands, that power corrupts. It can mess people up.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Right. So,
Do you ever teach other doms or switches, or if that's the right word, how to behave this way? Or how to be classes? Or
yes, I actually do teach other dominants about protocols and rules, and I always tell them, whatever you do, ends up on social media, because now everything's social media enforced, obviously. So if you have a submissive who's unruly and not adhering to a specific set of rules that you set forth for them, they're going online doing things, and it's what I would call dom hopping. It's when a submissive who's under consideration, who is actually on social media interacting with other dames behind their owners or, mistress or master's back, that I don't take very lightly. That to me is like a big good way to get fucking dismissed. Usually I have 3 strikes. The first strike, I ignore the submissive and don't give them any contact information. I totally fucking ignore them. Ignoring them is the worst form of punishment, because they don't have access to you, okay?
Yes.
So I will do that the first time. The second time, if it happens, they're cut off for X amount of time. It could be 3 months. I'll say, listen, you are to show me that you can behave, and if you adhere to these rules. If I find out that because I have, at the time I would have other mistresses keeping eyes on people for me, like a backup, they know that person is owned by me. If they do anything, it would come back to me. So then I would go to the submissive. Oh, I heard you were doing this. How did you know that? I said, oh, you have no idea, don't you? I said, we all talk, and we actually have blacklisted some submissives that we know that are kind of not good, and kind of pre-warn other dames to kind of stay away from them. So the third time it happens, they're dismissed. And I'm done. I cut you off completely, and you're out of my world. Most of the time, they come back to me, oh, I'm so sorry. They send me an email. They're good for a couple of months, and if they behave, then they behave. But I do teach people how to dominate people. I do teach people about BDSM 101s for the people who are kind of getting into it and not really sure. I go
Did
over
you
like
do something at Exotica? You should have a lecture if you haven't done one. Forgive me if you did and I didn't know it. But
I have done
those
lectures. I have done them about needle play and Violet Wand stuff. I
Gotcha.
also did a cross-dressing thing at Chicago a few years back, where myself and another mistress did a sissy parade. We had a bunch of cross-dressed men
I think
parade.
you should do it again. I would love to see it.
So we did a lot of stuff. So, I actually had asked, the dungeon now at Exotica is run by Kinky College. The guy Bruce is in Chicago. And, I always ask him, but he always tells me he has, enough people to work. And quite honestly, between you and I've said it on past shows, the dungeon is so different than it used to be. I used to be able to whip people in there, myself and other dummies. I have old photos of me mummifying people to cage it, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's different. You can't do that anymore, and they make you sign a liability waiver.
Litigious society, and I'm not in that world, or don't just know a taste of it, obviously, but yeah, I get it. Well, Ron Jeremy used to be able to feel your tits at a convention and not go to jail. You know what I mean?
Exactly, right.
Things have changed, and I can only imagine, especially in BDSM or heavier forms, that you have to watch what somebody goes to the show, and that's why it was in the dark world back when you started. I mean, that's
exactly.
It was a small society community that you knew of.
Mm-hmm.
Probably clusters of communities, but you had maybe 5 or 10 that you knew.
Right. Yeah.
Something you remind me of. They have a swing club here in where I live.
Right.
Actually, I was going to name it, but then they'll figure out where
it
is.
Yeah, don't do it.
So anyway, squirrel. Thank you, mistress. Yes, I will not name it.
Squirrel.
I was still thinking about the fucking movie we're going to make with Vicky. This is going to be great. But
you're all turned on now. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Normally you're turning people on, and now I'm turning you on. So look how that's mighty role reversal right there.
Well, you are kind to say that, and darling, you can always turn me on. You do it, but you should know it. You should just talk it in. But I have to share this with you real quickly because I'm crazy. So I go to this club a few years ago, and I know the people that run it now. I didn't then, but I walked upstairs. It's 2 floors to the place. It's kind of a nice place. And there was I would assume it's BDSM. A lot of the attire was there.
Oh, they had fetish clothes on and harnesses and gimps and all kinds of stuff like that?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. And they looked at me like I had 3 heads. and I basically oozed my way out of there, and one of them came out. But almost got out of character, a guy, and he had the hat, looked like the guy from the Village People.
Yes, that's actually
with the mustache and the hairy chest.
That is called Old Guard Gay Leather. That's what that is. That's Old Guard
what it
BDSM.
was.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. There was a few girls in there, though, but it was probably the gay thing. But he looked at that, Old Guard Gay Leather, and he said to me, he goes, they're not mean. He goes, this is a private thing, and it's for BD. He goes, are you in this? And I just... After I was there, I already knew I wasn't in it. And I said, no, it's all good. And I went down to my boring, just screw 3 girls at one time. But you know what I mean? It's a totally different, and I'm glad that every community should have some kind of rules and form.
Right.
I used to bitch about the testing thing here when I came back in, because with a guy like me, I don't literally have sex unless I'm out back being Sean.
Right.
And it's a pain in the ass, especially in the time I have to find it. But I realize you got to follow rules.
Yes.
And in this day and age, if you don't, you're blacklisted.
That's correct.
You shouldn't be.
You're right. I said that, blacklisted. Correct. Right.
Yeah. In our day, it was just more. Well, first there was less things, but it was on trust, and the honor system doesn't work. So there's a lot of. I know it sounds so corny, but we got to respect the youngers. They're working harder. I've said this to any adult performer, male, female, or whatever gender.
Right.
Today, it is so much tougher for you. The community is worldwide.
Right.
It's worldwide. How do you make your mark? It's difficult. You don't have for the most part, unless browsers or something. You don't have directors taking care of you. You don't have that standard, and the money's different. So when you see somebody like Katie Morgan, you were talking about Evan the other day, or Christy Canyon, or Mickey Lynn, and newer ones, Alex Cole.
No, I know Alex Cole. I know her. Actually, I interviewed her when I was on Triple X Porn Star Radio back in 2017, so I actually interviewed her.
Probably the most professional person that I've talked to in that. We talk, we say hello, and it's polite. And by that, see, I don't have an ego. You know we're July. My ego is there. I said, maybe I'm reading it wrong. I said, but maybe. And then I looked at her work, and she's always working with younger people or more muscular. This is her thing that she usually works with.
Right.
And I'm saying, so why get close with somebody, me, because it's not her venue. It's not her target base.
Right.
And but it's very few people that make the kind of career successful 24/7. So I applaud them hugely, Mistress.
Yeah.
Today, believe it or not, it was a lot easier in our day. You had mentioned about the mainstream acting versus this. I was a big fish in a small pond. I could do what I wanted. I got a paycheck. But now it's so much different. And I'm learning a lot, and I'm grateful. Victoria Peaks, I gave her some tips. She says, thank you. I thank her all the time because she's doing the right path.
Right.
Her Twitter base, her fan base has grown exponentially in the last year.
Right.
So she's an example. I might have gone off tangent on that, but
it's okay. Hey, listen, it's all good.
It's all good. I think we have to do another show soon.
Yeah, we do. Actually, it's funny. If you haven't, you might want to contact one of our sponsors, or my sponsors, Spunk Lube. I love their lubricant. You got to try that stuff.
You said that. I looked at it last night, and I'm going to order some today.
Okay, good.
You said that.
Yeah, actually, they.
And I just followed them yesterday.
Yeah, actually, I had tweeted. I tweeted to him because he's the sponsor of my show, Spunk Lube, and they let me tell you, they make great lubricant. And if you're doing a lot of like pussy eating and fucking, and some lubricants you really don't want to have a mouthful of lube, So Spunk Lube actually makes a all natural one, which is made with avocado oil, coconut, and I think flax oil. And believe it or not, I've used it, and it's really fucking good, and it's completely edible too.
Well, they're sponsoring yours, so I will tell you that Sean Elliot is ordering it. I've already saw it. I saw the guy. He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
I'm so jealous. I can't stand it. and I'm getting your stuff. And you just told me which one, because I had looked at all the three main ones, like silicone, non-silicone, and then the natural, or the hybrid.
The hybrid, right. Yeah, they have some that are like blue, green, orange, and pink, and then they also have one that looks like semen, like the looks like cum. That one, yes. So
Yeah, well, I'll definitely do it. And matter of fact, we're gonna do this again. It's usually the host, but I can hear things coming, so I got to get going.
All right, awesome.
Is that and I don't want to, but we're going to do this again.
Yes, you were definitely going to come back on the show, Sean. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the interview, by the way.
Yeah, I'll get it, and I'm sure I'll like it. And then if he wants to use Sean Elliott, say this old porn guy he likes my stuff. So there you go.
Awesome. That's excellent. Well, thank you for coming on, and of course we'll be in touch. You and I usually talk anyway, so but absolutely, and Mike and Lorenzo, if you're listening, get the wheels greasy.
Come on with this already.
get the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
That's right. I'll lick your boots.
Yes, exactly. Well, thanks for coming on, Sean.
And we'll talk soon off the air, of course. But thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. It was a great. I was glad to have you on because this is a good thing actually. So and welcome back to the business, by the way.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Have a great night, Sean.
You too. Bye, fans. Bye, everybody.
Bye. So here we have it. We had Sean Elliott on, and He is an absolute amazing fella, and honestly, I can't wait to do that BDSM type movie with him and Victoria Peaks. So, you have to look for that the next couple of months, but I'm going to wrap up the show for today, and you'll catch me live next Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. Please follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter at MistressC69, at BDSM Alive Radio, and I'm also at The Whip Appeal on Twitter. Facebook, we have The Whip Appeal Show at BDSM Alive Radio Network, and I have a fan page, MistressCandy69 on Facebook, and also I'm on Instagram under The Real MistressCandy69, and The Whip Appeal Show for BDSM Alive Radio Network. And of course, I want to thank our sponsor, Spunk Lube, and look at that, Sean Elliot's going to get some and try it, and he's going to get the one I told him to get, so that's even better. And I want to thank Blitzkid for allowing me to continually use your song, She Dominates, for the show. And I want to thank Sir Lorenzo and Mikey Ramos for being really good friends of mine and helping me throughout the years. And I want to say thank you and good night, everybody, and I look forward to talking with you all next week. Have a great day and a great weekend. Stay kinky, my friends. You're listening to the Whip Appeal Show, hosted by Mistress Candy 69 from the BDSM Alive Radio Network.